We normally do one leadership lesson from Luke, but today one of our topics actually lent itself to a verse that I want to talk about, but also there's a verse for the rest of today's topic. So we're going to do two. Yes, a bonus leadership lessons from Luke. So, but it's about an article. So there was an article that I read in Christianity Today, which was talking about dozens of North Carolina Methodist churches join over 6,000 leaving the denomination. Now, so there's a group, currently there's a group of 36 United Methodist churches that are in North Carolina that had sued, demanding to sever their ties with to the denomination. They have agreed to leave using a plan approved by the church leaders in 2019, the Western North Carolina Conference announced. So pretty much what happened is the United Methodist Churches, UMC, not UPC, that's a completely different denomination. We've actually spoken about UMC before and other churches leaving it. We spoke about this, I think probably almost 12 months ago that we spoke about it. There's a lot of churches leaving this denomination because then the UMC are kind of, accepting homosexual pastors, ordained ministers, and doing accepting weddings for homosexual partners and stuff like that. So there's a lot of people that are just leaving to say, like, we don't agree with these things, so we want to leave. But they weren't allowed to leave. And so because they weren't allowed to leave, they tried to sue. Should we as churches be suing each other, Dr. Rod? Is it unchristian to sue?
Not always, I would have to say. And I know we're entreated in the New Testament not to be taking legal action against one another, and I think as best as we possibly can, we should keep our disputes out of the court. And I think resorting to court action should be something way down our list. In an issue like this, where it's an issue of serious doctrinal dispute, and where it appears as if the denomination did not follow an earlier agreement in terms of congregations withdrawing, it may be that the only avenue open was to take some kind of legal action in order to protect the rights that had been agreed to earlier on, and may also have been necessary in order to protect property. So I think one has to be very prayerful over this issue. I know in my own case, where I've been involved on a board of a Christian organisation, where we were either involved in legal action or actually initiated it. In some cases, under conditions of insurance, it's really the only way that you can operate. And in many cases, of course, your insurance company take over everything.
Okay. And
so, look, I just think we have to apply with great wisdom that biblical injunction not to take legal action against one another, not to sue one another. I certainly don't think it should be a first resort. And look, I know that I'm treading on very thin ice here and that there'll be people who don't agree with me. All I can say is I think there are some circumstances where the whole environment, the whole legal environment, particularly as it revolves around insurance, actually does lead you to legal action. And I would have to say that I don't think legal action is always wrong or sinful, particularly when you are protecting assets that you've built up on behalf of the body of Christ. So I don't know whether that's what's involved here, but that may be one of the reasons.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of jump on that property part, because Reading through this article, they were talking about the who owns the property and all that sort of stuff and everything. So, and also, I'll leave that to side. Maybe we'll get to that in a moment. But in this moment, if it wasn't about the property, I'd assume that like if someone's going, we don't agree on things, let's part ways, which I've done that with business partners in the past. Like, I don't agree with the way you're operating a business anymore. I'm just going to part ways. Now, I didn't take anything. I didn't like, I just left, right? Like, it was like, this is not for me. So I left. I left, value in the business. I left, whatever it was that I'd left is like, whatever, I've left it. It's fine. The challenge, that seems like it'd be normal and you're wondering why are they suing, but do you know much about the situation that maybe it is more about the property that they're trying to take rather than it just being them just trying to leave the denomination?
Look, I'm not sure because I haven't read the agreement which has led to the dispute. It's really very difficult at the organisational level when there are disputes and the leadership can read things one way and other people can read things a different way. Mm-hmm. And as outsiders, as more or less casual observers, it's really difficult for us to get to the bottom of exactly what is driving this dispute. Mm-hmm. And I think we have to be particularly careful as leaders when it's not our assets that are at risk. Yeah. And look, I do know of whole congregations that have left denominations for similar reasons here in Australia. I know of one case where a congregation had forked out multiple billions of dollars in order to buy some land. Mm-hmm. And when an irreconcilable doctrinal difference emerged, they decided to withdraw from their denomination and they lost all the money that they had put into the property and had to start again. And they're now a thriving congregation in the same community. They're doing good in their community, and they have succeeded as a more or less independent congregation. Mm. So judgment needs to be applied. I think we have to be prayerful about it. There will be some contexts, I believe, in which the result of prayerful consideration is that we simply withdraw with as much grace as we possibly can, knowing that we are going to lose all of our assets and we're going to start from ground zero.
Yeah, so about that though, like, because I know that I kind of, I'm going to say it in a crass way that it's not true, but like, I've been screwed over a lot of times in the past, right? But I'm not saying that bitterly, but I'm trying to think of another way of like, there's been times that things haven't worked out and I've just had to leave with nothing and just walk away. And so you're sharing that example is like, but should we have to just keep being the doormat and keep being screwed over by people? Or is there a place for us to be able to stand up and fight and go, well, actually, our congregation actually contributed to that. Let us give you a portion of the value or whatever. Like, isn't there a place to at least fight for that?
That's why I use the term prayerful consideration, because I don't think every context is the same. And I think under some situations, the right thing to do is, as it were, to stand and fight. Yep. In other situations, the right thing to do is to simply withdraw with as much grace as you possibly can. Look, the handbook isn't the Bible is not a handbook on legal procedures. Yeah. And there are certainly principles that we can draw. We don't want to undermine brotherly love and affection. Mm-hmm. Remember that the metaphor of the church as family, as siblings, is used over 160 times in the New Testament. So and our relationship... well, they do sometimes, but our relationship as brothers and sisters is paramount. And I think that's something that we have to keep in mind. On the other hand, I think the injunction not to take legal action against one another is about individuals.
Yeah.
And I don't think the Bible gives us absolute clarity on what we should do as leaders of a congregation or denomination where significant property is at stake. That's why my advice would be you need to go into a period of prayer and actually get the Lord's direction in a particular case.
Well, you mentioned the Bible, and this is meant to be a leadership lessons from Luke. I'm going to read through the passage that does kind of refer to this and kind of sum up this segment. Is it's from Luke 12, 54. He said to the crowd, he being Jesus, when you see a cloud rising in the west, immediately you say it's going to rain, and it does. And when the south wind blows, you say it's going to be hot, and it is. Hypocrites, you know how to interpret the appearance of the earth and the skies. How is it that you don't know how to interpret the times, interpret this present time? Why don't you judge for yourselves what is right, as you are going with your adversary to the magistrate or to court? Try hard to be reconciled to him on the way, or he may drag you off to the judge, and the judge turn you over to the officer, and the officer throw you in prison. I tell you, you will not get out until you have paid the last penny. And kind of what I get from this is obviously like let's try to avoid legal proceedings, because I know from my experience, I try to fight something and I spent over $30,000 in legal fees and got nowhere with it, right? Got nothing, and had 6 to 12 months of just anxiety and pressure and everything like that, and then lost a lot of money as well. So what Jesus is saying is just settle your disputes early. Don't get the courts involved, otherwise you'll cop the hardest thing. I've recently gone through some legal challenges as well, and there was an option for me to take it to court. I'm like, no, just settle it. Look, one thing that I get it from here is settle it early. And also see the signs, right? That's I know Jesus was talking about the signs of the coming and or like of him and all that sort of stuff. Like, but I kind of interpret that as like, see the signs early, right? Like, if you see, don't wait until the dispute happens. Prepare for it, right? Like, so for example, with the denominations or whatever, maybe there were some signs that they ignored early that maybe they could have started making other arrangements or whatever, but see the signs early and settle the dispute early. This recent legal thing, it could have been, I just wanted to get it over quick, because I saw the longer it was dragging on, the more emotional everyone was getting, the more then things kept changing, and then it got nasty, and you just don't want to do that. Just get it done early, get it over with quick. And once it's over with, then everyone can move on with their lives, right? Dr. Rob, what have you got to add to that?
Oh, it's good advice. And look, if you go to a lawyer today, they'll tell you the best thing to do is to settle out of court. Don't get into a situation where you actually have to take something to court, primarily because it's very, very expensive. Yeah. I've been involved in a dispute as a director, and we were advised that if it went into the court system, it would probably cost our organisation $100,000 a day.
What? $100,000 a day?
Correct. Yeah.
Wow.
So look, and we settled out of court, of course, and that's what you want to try to do as much as possible. And look, honestly, when you see things reported in the media about the outcomes of court cases and so on, it's really the tip of the iceberg. Most disputes are actually resolved before they actually get into a courtroom. And sometimes a judge will say, "Don't be silly, get out of here, have another go at reconciling, or have another go at sorting yourselves out."
Yeah.
And I think that advice there is right. You need to be a bit careful, because you might wind up in jail, not having had that intention or that expectation in the first place. So, as much as possible, sit down, brother to brother, sister to sister, and work out your differences, and where some kind of compensation is sensible, work it out. And better to do that than to have to spend a lot of money on bringing experts in.
And also, like, just like that, settle it early, settle it quick. Because I actually saw through my recent thing is at the start, everything was reasonably amicable and everything was like, we agreed on everything. And the longer it dragged on, the more complicated things get because more emotions
Yes,
get into it. And at the start, you're able to be rational and we're both getting emotional. We're like it just got harder and harder along the way. And so that's why I was just trying to at the end, I was just pretty much just saying yes to everything, like just to get it done. Like whatever, like let's just get this done, get the dispute done. Like you're saying, those people walked away from their property because they probably just said, we don't want the fight. It's not worth. It's going to distract us from our purpose. Let's just move on as a congregation. So settle early. Hey, you just watched an excerpt from the On the Cube Leadership Podcast. If you like that, hit the like button and put a comment below. Hey, if you want to watch more videos like this, check out our channel. And while you're there, make sure you subscribe.